Hello, everybody. It was a weird message at the end, wasn't it? That's what happens when um, one of the film scanners loses tension, and then you get that media offline image. Um, Anyways, I'm Skip Elsheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime streaming show. We welcome to Monday. Monday, yes. So we watch old 16 millimeter films, and that one was from the Coronet collection that we've been scanning, and that one it's what they call an insurance copy, and so it was a full color um, film, but with no soundtrack. Um, yeah, that's why that was silent and why I had the projector sound over it. And I have not seen a copy of that film otherwise. Like, I haven't seen that out in the world. That has not shown up in my collection. And I'm wondering, like, how popular that title was, given the subject matter. Like, did school boards, librarians, were they a little skittish about having this film because they weren't sure what they were going to show? Um, I don't know. But I have not seen this film out in the wild. So I'm hoping to stumble across, as we go through scanning stuff, finding the soundtrack, then I'll marry them up, and then we'll watch it again maybe. And then we'll figure out, like, what's going on there. I have no idea what's happening. So, yes, watching old 16 millimeter films. This one is, I believe this was a Castle release. So it was released on 16 with sound. And so here it is. Here comes the circus.
And maybe a tummy ache tomorrow. Soda pop and pink lemonade are as important as peanuts for the elephant. Now, folks, step right this way to the bigger, better, more exciting sideshow.
Most exciting show you've ever seen, and plenty of time to see it all. Your attention, please, to the lovely little lady on my right. In the great sideshow inside, she swallows a lighted neon tube. Mademoiselle Annette, the snake charmer extraordinary. On the inside, she performs...
Now, Big Joe, the event that the kids and the grown-ups have been waiting for months. Cole Brothers Circus proudly presents the magnificent and gorgeous inaugural pageant in kaleidoscopic splendor, Pan Americana. A Congress of Clowns, champion fun makers, masters of mirth and merriment, inside splitting didos, laugh makers all, headed by the world famous gloomy Emmett Kelly. Introducing Miss Betty Rich, Queen of the Air, in a sensational display of breathtaking aerial feats without a net below. The first Tyrica. Nelson Troupe, sensational Risley acrobatics star. And now the only girl to do a complete somersault too high to the feet of the balancer. The celebrated Reifenach troupe, bareback riding marvels whose equals do not exist. Grace and beauty of equestrianism. The beautiful bareback riding ballerina, Miss Lucy. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we present the Boise troupe in amazing gymnastic feats aloft, agile performers on the aerial bars. Here come the comics of the air in dexterous and hilarious feats high above the sandbar. In the center ring, the only group of Pamelino Liberty horses in the world, trained and presented by Adolphe Del Bosque. On the hippodrome track, high-jumping horses. And now the most daring rider in all the world, Miss Dorothy Herbert, blindfolded over a barrier of fire. Presenting Otto and Freddie for the funniest prize fight in circus history. And now, Clyde Beatty, the most fearless man in all the world, alone in a cage with a herd of man-eating African lions, the greatest wild animal trainer of all time, face to face with the most ferocious of all jungle-bred animals. The six flying thrillers, daring mid-air marvels high over the center ring. A troop of absolutely fearless and unrivaled young men and youths who fly through the air performing spectacular and hazardous feats.
La 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 la.
All right, so some of you um, on YouTube, I'm going to wait for it to come back. It's very frustrating. Um, I don't know if it's the music. I feel like that probably somebody has claimed this erroneously, um, and it's very annoying. So I don't know if I'm back yet. I'm waiting. I'm going to type. Am I back? Am I back? Am I back? Let me know. No, not yet. Nope, not so far. I don't think I ever did. Did I go away on Facebook? Back on Twitch. Still not YouTube. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start the next film. Okay, I'm back. All right. Sorry, everybody. Here's my answer to that. Anyways, sad trombone. So annoying. But I'm going to go ahead and show a film that, I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen. But I have a film set up on the Telecine that I don't think is online anywhere. Telecine, it's right there behind my head. Right there. Okay. Tyron, thank you for the coffee, by the way. It helps during times like this. But this next film is called Consumer Skills Buying Services. Enjoy.
You hurt?
No. How about them?
I don't know. You have insurance?
Who's your family doctor?
What hospital should we take him to? We can tow it to any repair shop you say.
You better call a lawyer. You need the services of a lawyer.
Dad? This is Danny. Yeah. Look, I'm gonna need some help. See, there's been an accident. There's been a big accident here, and No, Dad. No, I'm okay, but the car isn't. Yeah. No, Dad, it's not just the damages. See, they're taking names.
There are times when a person needs services. Times when the needs are unexpected. Times when services must be bought in anticipation of needs.
Yes, you're covered. Up to $10,000. You may remember that when you were about to buy the policy, I advised you that for a few dollars more, you could get this additional coverage.
Well, here's my estimate. Maybe you can find lower price, but I don't think you're going to find anybody who does the work better.
Well, it's certainly not serious. probably due to the sudden stop. I'll prescribe something for the pain. I'd like you to come in for physical therapy. You should be feeling a lot better in a few days.
Danny, it's a question of liability. I can pretty well assure you that you won't be held liable, but it pays to take precautions.
As the years go by, an increasing amount of the money we earn goes to pay for services. And we face the problem of getting the most for our service dollars. Some services, like insurance, are paid for in advance.
You and your company are doing a good job for me. I'm really grateful.
Well, we've been doing business with your family for a long time.
Whatever made my dad decide to come to your company?
Oh, probably a friend.
The insurance man advises Danny to read. Try to find out a little about the field. Through reading, Danny can learn that insurance can be bought from a broker who represents many companies. He may be able to find one who charges less. Or insurance can be bought from an agent who represents only one company. Often, a customer gets better and faster service from an agent. Insurance can be bought from a mutual insurance company. A policy makes the insured person a shareholder in the company. In any case, he has to pay premiums, the cost of the policy.
I guess what I'm driving at is that you've got to arm yourself with all of the information that you can get. Before you sign a policy, read it. You'd be surprised at how many people don't. Ask when you don't understand. And be sure to read the conditions under which the company can drop you. They may not tell you that before you sign, though. You're going to have to find that out by reading the contract.
But how can I compare insurance companies? I mean, I don't know what's a good deal and what isn't.
Well, there are a lot of factors. You might want to go with a large...
Danny learns from his insurance man that a small company may charge less for insurance and may be more accommodating to the insured. However, such a company may not have large assets and may lack experience. On the other hand, a large company may be more expensive, but you can usually count on it for reliability and safety. Insurance companies are rated by Consumer Reports in terms of price, assets, size, and location.
What difference does that make?
Plenty. Different states have different...
An insurance man knows the location of a company provides important information about that company. Varying state requirements have to be met. What's more, a buyer is obligated to learn about the various types of coverage available to him. Liability and property damage insure a person against damage to other people's property. The first $10,000 or $20,000 worth of coverage may be expensive, but additional coverage may be reasonable. A small accident can damage a great deal of property. Collision insurance covers damage to a person's own car. It's expensive, so if a car is old, it may be more reasonable to replace it than to repair the damage. Rates can be lowered by accepting a deductible clause. The insured agrees to pay the first $100 or $150 himself. Comprehensive covers a person against fire or theft, and medical covers injuries to the driver and passengers. The amount a person buys is up to him, based on hospital costs in his area.
Whatever coverage you buy, and whatever company you buy it from, you'd be foolish not to compare rates.
That's what the insurance agency said, compare rates.
Well, sure. You have to shop around, compare. In this field, you are at a disadvantage to begin with. The guy at the shop knows a lot more than you do.
So how do you get the most for your money?
Like I said, compare. Ask for an estimate before you have the work done. Most insurance companies require estimates anyway.
Though a lot of people are afraid to ask for estimates, it's their right, and it's the smart thing to do. Most legitimate mechanics are more than willing to give estimates. Comparing prices is a good idea for many services you buy. With mechanics, movers, towing services, carpentry work, home repairs, for almost all the services you buy, you can get bids for comparison. What's more, you can check with friends. Find out the company's reputation. Many kinds of services are accredited by professional societies.
Look, there's something else you can do to protect yourself when buying car repairs. Let me show you. You can look at an estimator's book or a flat rate book.
A flat rater book gives you suggested reasonable labor cost for all standard auto repairs. It can help you see if a shop's repair estimate is in the ballpark. Another thing, check with the American Automobile Association or other organizations like it. They may have rated repair shops and garages in your city.
Oh, yeah. Something else. Well, you already know it.
I do?
Uh-huh. When you have a special problem, you go to a specialist, right? If you have a trouble like your body work, you go to a specialist. If you go to a regular shop, more likely they're just going to farmer out to a specialist like me anyway. Happens a lot of times.
What do you know about your lawyer? Does he specialize in personal injury? Suppose he's a tax lawyer. He may be willing to handle a personal injury for you, but he might not do so well with an injury case.
About my case, what do I do now?
I advise you to plead not guilty. You know, Danny, it seems to me the court will believe the accident was caused by that man 2 cars ahead of you. Hello.
Other services we're seldom aware that we buy are services to the public. Public services mean just that. They exist to serve the public.
Miss Cole, will you please read the letter we're sending to the council?
As buyers of public services, people have the right to express their views to public officials, to ask for changes in those services.
Dear sirs, for 6 months, the traffic on the Northwest Superhighway has been narrowed to only 2 lanes at the First Street underpass. The number of accidents that have occurred at this location has been excessive. Our organization asks that at the next council meeting, you consider the enclosed proposal for the immediate completion of the work, for widening the expressway and increasing safety. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much.
And now from the 11th Ward, the chair will now recognize Mr. Jacobs.
Mayor, Madam Recorder, fellow councilmen, I'm here tonight to talk to you about this unconscionable delay in the completion of the work on Northwest Highway. I've been literally deluged with mail in the past several months, and I know many of you have been.
Danny's car has been repaired by the repair service. His injury has been treated thanks to the services of his doctor. His repair bills have been paid, thanks to the services of the insurance company. And his legal position in the accident has been defended through the services of his lawyer. Being a consumer means buying services for private and public. And as Danny found, knowing how to evaluate and compare services is an important step in developing consumer skills.
So, do they even show films like that today? You know, teaching consumer skills. You know, I wonder. I often wonder. So, when I was in high school, I was on the college track, and which meant that I took classes that were meant for college. So, prepare me for college. So, I took a foreign language. I took advanced math, and there was a math called consumer math that seemed to be for those that weren't going to college. And I wonder how I could have benefited from consumer math. And I wonder if they would have shown a film like this in that class, because it's super useful, I think. And I didn't learn a lot about how to be a good consumer until years later, well into my adulthood. And these films certainly helped. So, hey, stop that. There you go. There's a little film, experimental filmish anti-war statement. I'm not sure. So we have been hearing the same car crash soundbite over many, many films. And, you know, some of you, though, who are enthusiasts of sound effects know about the Wilhelm scream, which supposedly, you know, if the internet is correct, was from a Western where Wilhelm gets shot and falls off his horse or falls somewhere and goes, oh! And that Wilhelm scream is used a lot. And it's because the guy's name was Wilhelm when he got the guy who got shot, the actor. No, not the actor, the character got shot. That's what I've heard. But that scream is not a Wilhelm scream. I don't think. I don't have the. Yeah, I need to do a little bit of research, but that we hear that a lot. That in the sound. So there you go. We're learning new. And so if we had to name that sound, what would we name that sound? We might as well come up with a name for it. So mention it in the comments what you think we should name that tire screech, brake squeal sound. All right. Let's learn about planting our garden.
Here is the Anderson family at work in the garden they have planted. They've enjoyed working together, and if we watch them, we will find out a lot about things.
Hey, you gardeners, here's a drink.
Okay.
Everyone is ready for a drink.
What kind is it?
Grape juice.
All fine.
Here you are.
Mom?
You certainly deserve it after all that work in the garden. Here you are, dear.
Oh, thanks.
You've certainly been working hard, eh, Philip? But the garden sure looks better than it did a few months ago.
It sure does. Remember how it looked when we first decided to have a garden?
Yes, it was March then. There was still snow on the ground. But even so, it was time to think about planting some plants such as tomatoes, cabbage, and broccoli that take longer to grow than others. Seeds for these plants were started indoors, so they would be big and strong by the time the weather was warm and the ground ready for them. Philip prepared a large flower pot with good earth for the tomatoes. He sprinkled the seeds very thickly. And then covered them lightly with earth. Mary was to have the charge of the cabbages. She planted them in a seed box, or flat. Because these seeds are very small, they should not be planted very deep. In a few days, she was delighted to see the sprouts begin to appear. Father had planted broccoli. Of course, it did well because he took good care in looking after it. Mary, too, watered her cabbages, keeping the soil moist, but not too wet and muddy. And Philip, he looked after the tomatoes, or did he? Look what happened. They sprouted well, but then they wilted. He forgot to keep them watered. They certainly looked sick, and so did Philip. But he was lucky. They got water in time. They were saved. Philip told his father what happened to the tomatoes. His father said that he was glad that Philip had found out himself how important it was to take good care of his plants. He explained that you have to have 3 things to make plants grow: water, sunshine, and rich soil. And to prove it, they decided to try an experiment. They filled 2 separate pots with earth, and in each one planted a healthy plant. After they were watered, Philip put one on a sunny windowsill. Mary put the other in a dark cupboard. Both were regularly watered and left in their places for a week. At the end of the week, when Mary took the plant out of the cupboard, it had wilted. See the difference. These 2 plants had the same amount of water. To prove that plants must have good soil, they planted 2 equally strong plants in 2 different kinds of soil. One was planted in soil containing the minerals and chemicals needed to produce healthy plants, while the other was planted in fine sand. Both were watered and set side by side in the sun. A week later, see what happened. One had grown much more than the other. And so, by studying these 4 pots, Mary and Philip learned that plants need sunlight and rich soil as well as water. Mary proved that they wouldn't grow without sunlight. Philip proved that they wouldn't grow well in poor soil. But with water, sun, and good soil, you could almost see them growing. The seedlings in the boxes soon grew larger and began to need more space, so they transplanted the largest and strongest plants to new boxes. With a pencil, Mary drilled holes about 1 inch apart so that each plant would have room to grow good roots. They transplanted the cabbage, broccoli, and tomatoes in this way. At last the frost was over, and it was time to prepare the ground for the real garden. To make sure the soil was rich as that in the seed boxes, Mary scattered a fertilizer, which contained chemical foods that the plants would need. And because good soil also contains decaying vegetable matter and dead insects and microscopic animals, Father mixed in the dead leaves raked up last fall. Philip cleared away stones so that the ground would be easy to cultivate. And Father dug it to break up the soil. After it had been raked and leveled, Philip and Father drove in pegs and tied strings to make sure the rows would be straight. Then Father made shallow grooves in the soil, and Mary dropped in carrot seeds and covered them. The radishes were planted early, too. Philip dropped the seeds into a groove and then patted a little earth on them. Corn seeds are bigger, and the plants are very big, so Mary planted the kernels about 8 inches apart. Bean seeds are big ones, too. Mary followed the directions on the package. She showed Philip how to plant them about 1 inch deep and 3 inches apart. Now all danger of cold nights was past, and it was safe to bring out the young plants that grew inside. Philip dug the holes about 2 feet apart. Mary poured a little water into them, and Father set each cabbage in carefully so as not to disturb the earth around the roots. They planted the tomatoes about 2 feet apart to allow for growth and root space. Broccoli grows to be large too, so they also were set 2 feet apart. And they were planted in a spot where they would not shade other plants when they grew tall. Potatoes are planted in a very interesting way. Mary cut potatoes into pieces and made sure each piece had at least one eye, because it is from the eyes that the new sprouts grow. 3 or 4 pieces were dropped together into holes about 2 feet apart and covered with earth. Philip watched eagerly for some sprouts to appear. At last the day came. The radishes were first up. Philip watched them day by day and secretly sampled them. When he thought they were ready, he gave some to the others. They were okay. And soon there were ripe tomatoes. Corn. Crisp lettuce. And a whole garden full of fresh and tasty vegetables to last all summer.
It was, I like that film because it actually has talking at the beginning, where they talk to each other before. A lot of films around this time were just narrators. You didn't actually get to hear anybody talk. And I don't know. I wasn't watching the lips carefully to see if that was dubbed later or if it was actual audio. I feel like it was probably dubbed later, but the idea that you had people talking at the beginning was kind of interesting, because a lot of films, Encyclopedia Britannica and Cornet, they just had some dude or some woman narrating the whole thing. And thanks everybody for tuning in or writing in the comments where that sound effect came from. Usually I'm up on my novelty songs, but I forgot this one. This is Nervous Norvis, I think that's right, if I'm saying that correctly, and the song is Transfusion, and so that's where it might have existed before that, but that seems to be a pretty solid, like 1956. Again, we could do some more research and see if the sound effect existed before that. But there you go. We can call it the Nervous Norvis scream, screech and scream. Let's learn about communications in the modern world. And I like films like this because it's meant to describe what is happening in the contemporary time, which is probably the 50s or 60s. and we can look in hindsight and see how things have changed, radically changed, and how some of them have not changed. So here's communications in the modern world.
This is a story of how ideas and feelings are transmitted from one person to another in our modern world. A story of communication. Ideas and feelings are communicated in two basic forms. One is through sound. Spoken language is the most common way of communicating through sound. The other basic way ideas are communicated is through sight, by seeing movements such as gestures. By reading written words and symbols, we can understand ideas expressed by others. Men have long communicated with each other through sounds and sight. In ancient times, people had language too. But spoken ideas could be sent only as far as the voice would carry. Writing was also used in ancient times, but was done by hand, laboriously, one copy at a time. One of the earliest means of sending written messages over long distances was by runner, but this took a great deal of time. Drum signals traveled faster than runners, but were effective only as far as the sound of the drum would carry. Smoke signals were useful only as far as they could be seen. Ancient peoples had the same forms of communication as we do. But today, through improved means of communication, sound can be carried almost instantaneously, far beyond the range of unaided hearing. Ideas in words and pictures can be reproduced quickly and easily in large numbers by modern printing methods. The invention of television has made it possible for us to communicate through a combination of sights and sounds. Modern means of communication have overcome the ancient barriers of time and distance. By means of the telephone, we are able to make use of the services of a variety of people and to keep in touch with friends and relatives. Fast, reliable communication is possible through our mail service. Many written and printed messages are regularly delivered to us by the postman. Mail is sent quickly from one place to another, near and far, using modern means of transportation. Newspapers keep us in touch with international and local happenings and provide us with entertaining reading, too. Books offer us unlimited possibilities for fun. They offer, too, a deeper understanding of the world today as well as yesterday. Through reading, we can communicate with the great minds of the past and present. We are made aware of happenings of the moment through radio and television, which bring us events as they are occurring, allowing us to witness history as it is being made. These means of communication bring us information and entertainment. Enjoyment comes also from motion pictures, another means of communication. Motion pictures are often made for educational uses, too. Through motion pictures, a wealth of information is made available to you. By means of recordings, it is possible to hear the best in past performances again and again. Modern communication is important in daily living, in providing entertainment and information, and in keeping us in touch with activities about us. In business, too, communication is important. Advertising through picture and printed word tells many people what places of business have to sell. Fast communication is necessary to business in other ways, too. There are letters to be answered, bills to be paid, payments to be received. All this paperwork must be handled by mail or messenger service. When new merchandise must be ordered, the businessman may place his order by mail, or if it is needed more quickly, he may send a telegram to a wholesaler in another city. Modern businesses could not have developed without effective communication. Communication is vitally important to the business of transportation, too. The railroads, for instance, rely on cross-country messages and safety devices that warn motorists of dangers along the highway. With such devices, goods and people can move smoothly and rapidly from one part of the country to another. The safety of ships depends on radio, which brings weather reports and allows contact with other ships and shore stations. Airplanes flying passengers or freight depend on radio contact with the ground to help ensure safe flying conditions and safe landing in good weather or bad. Effective communication is vital to business in transporting people and goods safely from place to place, and in speeding the production and selling of goods. Agencies of local, state, and federal governments need rapid means of communication to operate effectively. By means of radio, local police can be in almost instant contact with each other and with law enforcement agencies in other parts of the country. Help from your local police or fire department is as near as your telephone. Your call brings almost instant response.
That's the international picture. And now news from our nation's capital.
Perhaps communication serves government best by keeping the people of our country informed about national and international issues. For an informed citizen can vote more intelligently than one who is uninformed. The continents of the world are linked together by cables laid on the ocean's floor, which form a communication bond that promotes world trade. Radio signals span the earth, making easy contact among national governments possible. Modern means of communication bring nations closer together for better understanding. Modern communication is constantly being improved. Compare modern printing presses with the hand press of the past. Compare the crystal radio set with the modern transistor portable radio. Compare the crank telephone with the automatic dialed telephone systems of today. Modern communication is important in daily life. It keeps us in touch with the world, informing and entertaining us. In the world of commerce, communication brings producer and consumer closer together and helps speed the transaction of business. But above all, Good communication is essential to help people exchange ideas and feelings more effectively. This is the important role of communication in our modern world.
So where do memes fall in there? It seems to be a way that a lot of people are communicating in emojis. It's just kind of interesting. I think a lot about communication and think about films about communication and technology and how technology shaped how we communicate. And certainly texting changed how we communicate. And then emojis and social media, all those things. Was it for the good? I don't know. All I can say is, if it wasn't for social media, you guys wouldn't be watching this, and so thank you. That's the good part of social media. Everything else, I don't know. But thanks very much for tuning in. Nathan, thank you for the coffee. Taryn, thank you for the coffee. Coffee is one way you can reward us. Here I am, this flat screen, and I am this two-dimensional thing. But you can buy us three-dimensional coffee, which has these beautiful structures of chemicals that percolate our brains. And so buymeacoffee.com/avgeeks is a wonderful way to say thanks. Or say, like, I like what you do, or I'm interested in what you do. I wish you wouldn't talk so much. The other thing you can do is go to avgeeks.com, and there's other things on there that we've been digitizing and uploading for the last almost 10 years. You can also hit like and subscribe. Those are ways to tell social media that they should somehow open up our audience and let other people see what we're doing, so that someone can get on the comments and say, how did I get here? What is this? I don't understand what's going on. I kind of delight in seeing those messages, especially the "How did I get here?" It's like, oh, I'm physically now in this other place, and I don't know what it is. I don't know what I'm doing here. It gets me a little giddy, almost as drinking coffee. So hitting like and subscribe is almost like getting those people to show up is like me having coffee sometimes. So. You can also comment and share, of course. Very much love reading your comments every day and sharing it with other people that you like or people that you hate. That's the deal. Let's make AV Geeks worldwide. But thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in today. We'll be back again tomorrow, Tuesday, 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And we look inside the film can to give us advice, and it's a little smiley face with eyelashes. And it's the little smiley face is telling us to love each other. But it also, in big black El Marco pen, it says, please rewind. So those are words to live by, I think. Everybody have a good rest of your day, and we'll see you soon. Take care.